Why? So once I went up to him, I said, you've already bought two, is the third one for me? He said, no. My friend, he said that I apply for it at 25,000 bucks and I'm able to sell it for 50,000 bucks. So when the airline companies book up the orders with the Airbus or the Boeing, and when the time actually comes to deliver these airplanes, maybe an Etihad may need it at that point in time, maybe an Emirates may need it at that point in time, maybe somebody else may need it at that point in time. You would end up making $5 million, $10 million on that. How do power companies make money from? Where do power companies make money from? Distribution, generation. Power companies incidentally don't make money from distribution and generation. Power companies make money from holding and becoming the largest mine holders. They aggregate and they become the largest asset holders. So if you look at, I forgot the name of the power company in Brazil, I think I am not able to get that name right now, but that has become the holder of the largest assets in terms of raw materials. The valuation of that is more than the valuation of the power company. Why? Because the PPP agreement of the power is already decided. The cost that you're going to get the power for is already decided. So, now let me ask you a last question. Retail companies, if you were to audit a retail company, what would you look at? What would you look at? Square footages, cost, people walking in. You know, there are retail companies who are online like Flipkart and all of them, they want to give it to you free. So there is not even a model where retail companies would have assets and you would look at square footages. So interestingly, we went in, we do a lot of internal audit. So we went in to one of the new age companies and I went in with my director. And we went in there and they said, okay, what are you going to do for us in the internal audit? So I said, sir, we'll look at your cost, your advertisement structure, because you know you're going very fast. Unfortunately, my director was not prepared. He said, we'll look at your revenues, sir. You know, there was this gentleman who was just about 25 years old. In fact, I asked him first that who's the CFO? He said, I'm the CFO. So I said, excellent. He said, sir, we're not even going to make money for the next 6 years. So I don't know what you're going to look in revenues. Right? And that was housing.com. Have you heard of housing.com? Yeah. All across the Mumbai city, they had splashed 500 crore rupees establishing housing.com. And look at the business model, it doesn't even have revenues for the next 5 years. What are we going to order? Now, let me try and stretch this to how the game has changed for us. So I tried to and show you the dynamics of business. I've tried to connect it to the revenues and what you really need to audit in the coming age. Now, what has changed for us? Is anything going to change for us in the next 10 years? Yeah, world across, everything else is changing, but we are expecting that the bank audits would not change and the accountants audits would continue to remain. The worst is whether the banks would be there or not there, we don't know that. But let me now try and take you specifically to a few pointers. How much do you charge for income tax returns here in Kolkata? Oh, I love this thing. 1,000 rupees. In Mumbai also we charge 800, 1,000 rupees. So nothing to feel bad about. But there are technology companies who thought that, wow, this is a great opportunity. Why? Because you have 1 billion people in India, all are going to pay taxes. So why don't I charge only 100 rupees for a tax filing? So what they did, they killed your practice, they went to the largest corporation. So I go to TCS, I say, how many employees do you have? They said, 3 lakh employees I have. ICICI Bank, 1 lakh employees I have. Right? I will file it for all for 100 rupees. Wow. You may have been filing some of the returns, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, making some 3, 4 lakh rupees out of any of these companies as well. Suddenly tax disappeared. All of that information is on the net available. I was going through the highway from Bandrakula complex to my house in Andheri, and I saw a wonderful company called TechSmile.com. I don't know what is to smile about it, but TechSmile.com. They said we will file it free. Now, I'm not sure what they're doing and how they're doing. What I'm only trying to tell you is that tax filing, I thought tax consulting was a basic job profile, right? Somebody comes in with a technology platform, takes up a huge volume, and for him, filing 300,000 tax returns, 3 lakh tax returns for even 100 rupees is how much? 3 crore rupees worth of practice. Technology, he's invested in it once, and he tries and replicates it again and again. So that's your tax filing business. Let me now try and take you to Modi ji. I'm sure Mamta ji is more famous here, but Every government in this country, or any country whatsoever, says we want to make life simple for business, right? So what happens? Earlier when you used to go to ROC, you used to get a good fee for ROC. Why? Because things would not move. And you would be given a fee to make sure that you move things, right? Now suddenly things have started moving. Right? What a click of a button. Do you get money for that? You know, for the same search for the banks, when I was small, the first thing that I was given was, can you go and do a search in ROC? I had no idea what search and what ROC meant. When I went into an ROC, people used to sit on the top of the files. So I said, sir, Reliance ka koi bank ne search diya hai, kaise karna hai batao, usne sab bata diya. He told us everything what to do. He got me a file also. Then he told me, bola bacha hai bichara, why don't you take it home? Aur kal laake de do. Well, I took it home, I made a nice report out of it. We charged 1 lakh rupees for a large file. How much does it cost today? 50 rupees? 100 rupees? Wow. Right. So the entire business is down the trains. Now, let me take you to an interesting opportunity which is coming up, GST. You believe it's a great opportunity? I believe it's a great opportunity as well. But would it be a great opportunity after 4 years? I believe maybe not. Why? Because life is going to become simpler, hopefully. Maybe not 5, maybe 10, right? If government is going to come out with GST and everything is going to be simple and synchronized and electronically done, what's our value add there? Filing returns? That's our value add? Maybe that is also not required. Why? Because the young CEOs actually come up and say, "Yaar, ye to mera accounting kar dega, boss. Teach me how to do it." Believe me, all the young companies that we have as clients, they want to come and tell us, teach us how to do it. We'll do it. It is not adding value to us. Let me try and take something which is closer to your heart, bank audits. And I did mention to you that probably you may not see banks. Now, I may want to ask you, there's so much of innovation on technology and otherwise happening across the world. Actually, the innovation is not even technology. You know how much does it cost for us to create an app like an Uber? Any idea? 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs? That's it. It is not a technology innovation, it is an innovation to make your lives better, simpler, faster. Right? So, if I were to put the same connotation in banks, and I were to ask you a very simple question, how would you, as in the shoes of the consumer, like an ideal bank to look like? What do you think? What's your perception of an ideal bank? You don't have to visit the bank. It's already there. I have not gone to my bank for the last 14 years. But yes, somebody thought about it maybe 20 years back. Anybody else? I'm telling you, please close your eyes and give me the wildest possible answer. How do you want an ideal bank to be like? In one of the sessions that I went, a lady got up and said that in Bombay, getting people to work at home is very difficult. Right? So they said banks give you insurance, general insurance, life insurance, mutual funds. Why don't they send plumbers and electricians and people to work at home? I'm saying that's a great service. They want service under one roof. Maybe banks tomorrow would probably provide service under all of that because that's going to make money for them. I'm saying please think a little more wilder. Anybody here? How would you want the best bank to look like? Just lovely. I mean, he actually overshot what I wanted to tell you, but since he has, absolutely. One of the gentlemen got up in one of the conferences and said, I would want a bank to be, I walk into the bank, I get $50 million if I ask for $50 million, and that too, knowing that they may not even get the interest or the principal back. It was amazing. So he got up and said, I want an ideal bank to be like, they give me money, but they're not sure whether I'm going to give it back to them or I'm even going to give back interest to them. Now I said, how does that happen for a bank? Right? Absolutely, Vijay Mallya Bank. But everybody laughed, right? And that is probably the wildest of the idea that we had in the room there, in just 5 minutes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what if I were to tell you that this is the technology which is available in the market, where you can actually put up a project of $50 million, get the money in 5 minutes, without the fact that you want to give your assets to any of the banks there. And how does this work? If I were to give you 100 crore rupees, where would you put it? In which bank? Which bank would you put the 100 crore rupees? Knowing that it may not come back to you. Somebody actually got up and said 1 rupee, I said doesn't mind, right? Somebody got up and said 100 rupees, I said doesn't mind. If you were 200, 300 people here, if I were to reach out to the entire city of Kolkata, if I were to reach out to the city of Mumbai, if I were to reach out to the country of India, if I were to reach out to 7 billion people in the world, you know how much time it takes for $50 million? Just less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. And it is with this thought that the Reserve Bank of India is coming out with licenses for multiple banks. And P2P is definitely a concept which is strongly on the mind, and there's a consultation paper around it. And there are technologists and there are large corporations who have already started to work around it. If you would not have banks in the next 10 or 20 years, I'm not sure what you're going to do concurrent audits and statutory audits for. So the pie of our business most of the time is compliance, around 20%, taxation, around 25%, bank audits, around 20 or 15 odd percent, and maybe statutory audits of 25, 30 odd percent. Is that the normal bouquet of your practice? Of course, you do financial consulting, this, that, other areas, but majority on an average across the country, that my experience is, that this is what people most of the time do. So if you don't have your tax practice, of course, other than the high-end practices, and if you don't have your compliance practice, if you don't even have a bank audit or a statutory or a concurrent audit, and this is really happening. We went to Bank of Baroda to defend and say that, boss, why are you killing the concurrent audit? You know, he came back and said, I'm not trying to kill the concurrent audit. I don't want to take away jobs from chartered accountants. What we're doing is, we're trying to pull all the processes from our branch and take it centralized. So why are you trying and coming and shouting at us? Why is all the chartered accountants across the country trying to put up cases against us? We're not even sure what we're trying to do. They said that ICICI Bank does it, HDFC Bank does it. Of course, as an institute, when you go, you have your own arguments and you come back with your own arguments and so on and so forth. And we argue that the cost of control is really low and the size of balance sheet that you manage is 50,000 crores. How long will that hold? Let me try and come up closer to the thing which is very close to your heart, which is statutory audits. You know, in United Kingdom, you don't have a statutory audit if your turnover is not more than £5 million, almost 50 crores. If you come a little closer to the house, a little closer to India, Singapore, you don't have to do a statutory audit if your turnover is anything less than $5 million. If you come a little closer to us, to your place, maybe 3 hours in case of you or 4, Dubai, there is no statutory audits. I was surprised when I went to Japan in the month of May and I asked a firm who was a partner there, I said, how many statutory audits do you do? He said, none. I said, why? There is no statutory audit for unlisted companies. There's statutory audit only for listed companies. So the average bouquet that you see is slowly and steadily starting to crumble under the weight of technology, under the weight of reorientation of the processes, under whatever name that you may want to call. Why is accounting not going to be there in the next 10 years? How would accounting be not there in the next 10 years? Anybody here who would throw some idea on that? What is the innovation happening on accounting? Why would accounting not be there? That's a basic job, you're supposed to put entries. Why is it not going to be there? There are electronic invoices coming up. You know, when do you do accounting? When you get an invoice in your hand, right? If I were to connect your tally to the tally of the vendor, and once I agree that you are my vendor and establish each other in the masters, thereafter electronically if I send the invoice to the other person, he agrees or doesn't agree. If he agrees and says okay and approves it, it does the debit credit, it sits in your account, it sits in his account. Reconciliation worth millions of dollars have been killed, large companies don't have a problem. Accounting is done, suddenly accounting is becoming irrelevant. And if you ask me today, I'm not saying this, there are companies in India sitting out of the remote locations in probably even Rajasthan, and I'm sure somebody would be doing it in Kolkata here as well, trying to create electronic exchanges. And if this electronic exchange was pulled from where it is and taken up to a little higher level to an NSDL or something, the government would start accounting the tax. So why would you need to even file a return? You file an invoice, money has to get into the bank account. Somebody's approved it, the tax has to go in there, the service tax has to go in there, the excise has to go in there, the GST has to go in there, everything has to go in there. Is that too far? Maybe not. Is that too early? Maybe not. I don't know. But is somebody working on it? people are working on, and very, very strongly. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, the idea here is to try and impress upon your minds that the business logics have completely changed. Yeah, banking may no longer be banking, right? Telecommunication is no longer telecommunication, and it keeps changing on a daily basis, the evolution that you see. And there is for sure that the chartered accounting practice that you do, now what we do, if not somebody else is going to kill it, we need to kill it ourselves to reinvent ourselves. We need to kill this to reinvent ourselves. So let me now try and, how much time do I have? 15? 10 minutes? Right. So let me try and give you a last example in all of this, and maybe if you want, we can open up for 5 minutes for questions and answers. But my entire purpose of here, coming here is to try and give you a perspective, and not really frighten you, but try and give you a perspective that this is what we're looking at in the spectrum of the next 20 years. How would probably even a normal life look in 2030, for example? Yeah. You know, you'll probably get up in the morning and your watch has a GPS, right? And you put up an alarm there. It would connect to the GPS and it would go and figure out how long you have to go for your office, whether there is traffic or no traffic. If there is less of traffic, it will say, let this gentleman sleep for the next 15 more hours, 15 more minutes, right? And when it finds that the time is right now, it will probably nudge your bed, which will shake you very politely to say it's time for you to get up. You get up in the morning, you will go and stand in front of a mirror. The mirror would analyze your entire body, right? It will tell you that boss, you've eaten too much yesterday, right? It will go and talk to your treadmill to say that he has to run or she has to run for half an hour more. And by the time you're doing that and by the time you're brushing, it will tell your geyser that this gentleman or lady likes a hot water pot. So make sure that it is at 20 degree, 18 degree or whatever. And by the time you're finishing your bath and closing off your geysers, it will tell your coffee machines to prepare a cappuccino for you, if you like that. By the time you pick it up and come to your table, right, your table would no longer be a table. It will actually come out and say that GST, this is what has come out. And you know, statutory audit, this is what has come out. New tenders have come in for concrete audits or bank audits. And by the time you read it, it will, and keep your papers down and keep your news down, it will tell your car that this gentleman needs to be driven and the map is already filled in and there is no travel in the car. And you'll probably reach office. And all that I've spoken to you about, is not a fantasy. It is all technology which is there, available today in the market. The only time that it is taking to integrate all of that, and it's going to be available in the next 10 or 15 years. Now, I'm not trying to be dramatic to tell you all of this is going to change and how interesting technology is going to be. But if this were to happen, if all that I'm saying is going to happen, what would it mean for us? What would it mean for us? What would it mean for businesses that we support? The normal watch business is not going to be there. It has to change. The normal bed which people prepare are not going to be there. It has to change. Mirrors are going to be out of the business because you have super mirrors now. Normal geyser businesses have to be out. The coffee machines have to be intelligent. Televisions would no longer be available. It's right on your glass tabletop, right? And cars without the drivers are already available, and drivers would not be required. Interestingly, I was talking to my nephew, and he said that aircraft fighter pilots may not be required. So I said, what the hell? I can understand that drivers are not required. How the hell are fighter pilots not required? He said people who are able to play better video games may be required in the future because you're drawing and flying only drones, right? So why do you need pilots? Pilots can't even get between the buildings in the smaller places. Drones can get between the buildings in the smaller places. So if all of this is going to change, I'm sure the business is going to change. And if businesses are going to change, I'm sure that the practice that we do today, unfortunately, it is already on the verge of being under stress from all the sides, has to change. And my only request to all of you is, and so-called leaders, because we've been elected, not that we are better than you are, but as leaders, if we were not to come here and impress upon you that please change the way you do what you do. Please change the way you do what you do, and if you don't do it fast, then there will be a time that it will be choking your necks, and you will be looking at what next to do. So thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm not sure if I've been able to convey what I've been able to convey, but If you have any questions, I'm happy to take for the next 5 minutes, because I saved you 5 minutes, I guess. So. You're absolutely right. So what you're absolutely. So, the bottom line of all of this is what? The bottom line of all of this is the businesses that we used to do before in the last 2 decades were full of impropriety, were full of processes which were not good, which made us as chartered accountants get into that process, figure our way out, and get it done because of our smartness in whatever way that you would want to call that. And because we were able to deliver it, we were to get good fees out of that. So I'm saying that, can you imagine if all of that is made and simplified, and we're all screaming that it should be simplified. So if all of that is simplified, getting a land allotted gets simplified, where would our practice be? There are a lot of chartered accountants in the smaller locations who actually get lands for buildings or for factories or whatever. If your applications for constructing factories is going to become interesting, faster, easier, if all of that is going to become easier, right? How do we even provide those services, because we're not even adding a value there? Right? So I believe that the future, next 10 or 20 years, would be for us to enable businesses and not work as brakes. We'll be auditors. We've always been taught, unfortunately in our curriculum, that go and find a problem. Right? That's auditing. Right? Go and find a problem. If you find a problem, you come back and say, I found a problem. You even tell your client. If you keep coming back and telling your client that you have a problem, once is fine, twice is fine, 3 times is fine, 4th time you'll say, boss, let me go to a new chartered account. I want a solution. So what I'm trying to impress upon everybody here is solutionizing is becoming important. That is where you add value. And probably the money that we were making from simple tasks, because of our smartness, and probably I would call it a street smartness, would no longer be there because the processes have completely undergone change. Right? Yes, please. Of course. So I wanted to probably, before I leave here, I wanted to even talk about opportunity. I could take the entire day to talk about opportunity. I'm sure Sanjeev has got a lot of lectures for you in terms of what opportunities are there. Can you imagine if I'm sitting in Africa and auditing 17 countries out of India? I have killed the practice of all the big fours there auditing out of India. Right? It's the same skill set. Our complexity is larger, their complexity is smaller. I can do a better audit. So sitting on a video conferencing, I've killed it. So just I said, you need to reinvent. That's all.
The curriculum might need to change, but the human ethics, for example, with technology being so powerful, a bit of tweaking in the algorithm could transfer millions of dollars from here and there. We've seen those news. So chartered accountants actually will be.
Of course, the only practice that I do is information risk management. I'm a chartered accountant. But when I started my practice, I thought I can't get into an income tax office. आपका तो पता नहीं कैसा दिखता है हमारे वहाँ पे तो enter करेंगे तो you can't even enter. There are files all over and this and that. I said no, this is not meant for me. So let me try and do information risk management. So I had the information risk management vertical. I speak on cyber security conferences across the world. Amazing opportunity. They respect Indians. Amazing. So Bangladesh, Dhaka, for example, was hit in a SWIFT, simple access control. But $1 billion was tried to be moved across. Fortunately, only 100 million moved. Only 500 crores, right? 600 crores or 7 today, 70 rupees, right? So the impact is larger. If I can hack into all of this I said, the IoT, then maybe you're not going to drive office. I'm going to actually drive you somewhere else, right? So it brings on the table humongous opportunities, especially for the younger generation, because their ability to grasp these tools and technology is pretty good. For the older generation, people normally shy away from technology, which is fair enough, because it may not be time in their life to go back and reinvent the wheel. But I would impress upon them to invest in practice. Most of us don't invest in practice. We make money and put it in the stock market or put it in the land markets. Please go back, make money, hire a fresh chartered accountant. Ask him to do something. So Amazing
So
opportunity.
from projected cost sheets to financial modeling, so no, now we are not living in a scenario where we'll have a fixed 5-year forecast to give to the bank. We'll have to give a financial model. What if this happens, this will happen? So that sensitivity analysis we can.
Of course. So I can pick you offline. I'm here only, but believe me, opportunity. Just as we're going to kill, I said we're going to kill this practice. Our practice size in India, you know, we don't even do statutory audits here. 80% of the statutory audit is done by Big Four. Not without any disrespect. Of course, they've done a great job. But 80% of the valuation in the country is audited. We value 20%, but of course that 20% accounts for 80% of the GDP of the country. How much do we get for this 20%? Nothing. How much do they get for that 20%? 80%? Everything. Right? So look at the disparity. But even if you compare all of this practice put together, I would tell you that internationally the practice is 500 times, 1,000 times larger. A PwC in India could be 3,000 crores. A PwC in UK is $10 billion, right? $10 billion. So this is the kind of opportunity. Well, I had only carried 2 slides. He said, you know, please get a presentation. Initially, he didn't want to keep this topic. He said, "Nahi, mujhe Kolkata mein koi vote hi nahi karega baad mein." So I said, doesn't matter. But just a joke. But I said, let me try and get you 2 slides. And one of the slides that I wanted to show you was, unfortunately, had a picture of Modi. So I said, going to Kolkata and showing Modi ji is not happening, and I couldn't replace it in the car. So what I wanted to show you on that slide was, our economy is going to become one of the largest economies. That's our ambition, right? It's everybody's ambition. Right? But if it is going to become the largest economy, it's also going to merge with international standards, where because of the ease of doing business, you don't need statutory audits up to a certain level, right? Are we even geared up for that? We are not even geared up for letting one concurrent audit go, which doesn't even make you money. Right? Are we even geared up? Tomorrow if the government comes and says 2 crores turnover, only then you do statutory audit. What is the value of statutory audit if your balance sheet is 1 lakh and it is unpaid? Right? I've created a company, I've not paid up my 1 lakh rupees also, but still I need to do statutory audit, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever you charge. How does it bring value to business? It doesn't bring value to business. So what I'm saying is, that while if we have the ambition of merging into large international economies, we also have to be prepared for the rules and the games of large economies. And if we get ourselves prepared today, the next 10 years are going to be wonderful for us. We could be even larger than the largest practices across the world. China has laid down yes, I'll take it last question. China has laid down only one principle across all the firms, very strategically. It says anybody who comes in the top 10 in the world out of the Chinese firms, I will give you business outside China, all government businesses of China. You know what is happening there? There's a race to come in the top 10 in the world. Top 10. And you know what is the top 10? If you look at the list, the top 4 are $20, $30 billion, and the last 10th one will be $100 million. Look at the differentiator. So they have realized that aggregation, consolidation, size, scope is becoming very, very important, and they have given a strategy to their chartered accountants. So I'm saying here, maybe the government is not able to give a strategy, but are we able to understand it as chartered accountants? We're able to understand it as chartered accountants, right? So we need to take a step back, reinvent ourselves, and change the way that we work completely and very fast. Anybody who does that here, believe me, you can call them after 5 years, you'll have a successful practice. Sorry, last one.
We understand that there will be a lot of change that is required from the way we practice. We understand that presently we will have to undergo a lot of change in our way of doing things, the way we are practicing today. But my question is now to a Central Council member.
Sure.
That how is the institute taking steps to make their members change the way they do the practice? What are the active, progressive steps that the institute is taking?
All right, so I'll answer this in 2 ways. The first, I'll tell you the challenge, and then I'll tell you what we're doing. Elected members in the institute are 32, and they come from all walks of life, right? And somebody would come from here, somebody would come from up north, wherever. And somebody would have seen it, somebody would have not seen it. Somebody would have seen only content audits all his life, for example. So we have the serious debates and competition amongst ourselves, right? And people hold on to some wickets. It's like a cricket game, right? You hold on to your wicket because this is what you see. Not to say that he's not right, he or she is not right. They've come from a situation where I've only seen it, for example. So fortunately this year, we have 15 new Central Council members. And believe me when I say this, I think they're all good. All good. Progressive mindset. We are rewriting our ethical standards. Any committee that I go to, for example, I go with the fact that, can we not open it up, guys? People come and say, marketing is done by EY KPMG, अगर आपने खोल दिया, तो और marketing करेंगे. कितना करेंगे यार? आपके बच्चे भी जानते हैं EY KPMG कौन है? Right? So, can we, I'm not saying we'll allow you to put your face on the television, but can we enable ourselves so that we become larger? So, I'll only give you one line answer. The mindset of the people in the council today is let us get tuned and let our practices get tuned to larger practices. And can we enable you? So, we're going to go and rewrite the ethical standards, right? That was decided in the last ethical standard committee as well. So, I think we're in a wonderful time. And if all of you cooperate with the same thought process, then it can become a lot faster. Lot faster. That cooperation and understanding is required from our members as well. Otherwise, half the time we run out of jobs for protecting how much, I don't know, I'm sure content audit is a good business, but how much is it percentage of your practice? And if I were to ask you a little more, how much is it a percentage of your profits? Right? It is like a drug which is expired. And we're giving it to all the young chartered accountants. Why would a young chartered accountant not come and join a senior chartered accountant today? Why would he do that? Ideally, he should go and join, right? 5 lakh रुपए मिलेगा, 6 lakh रुपए. Why you think he's saying यार 2 लाख रुपए का तो content audit मिल जाएगा, 2 लाख रुपए का bank audit मिल जाएगा 20 दिन में, तो मैं क्यों join करूँ? Which is also good. We're creating entrepreneurs. But if you look at it after 5 years, what is happening? He's there. After 10 years, what is happening? Maybe at 10 lakh rupees. Had he worked with you, maybe you would have been at 5 crore rupees and he would have been at 20 lakh rupees. So unfortunately in India, the ability to work together is a big pain. I gave the same example in Ahmedabad. After I finished my talk and I went out of the room, one of the chartered accountants came up to me and said, can I do partnership with lawyers? I said, of course, it's a new thing that you would be able to do. But I said, why not chartered accountant? नहीं वो आएंगे कोई काम लेके जाएंगे. काम है ही किधर है यार? बाद में लेके जाएंगे ना? और लेके जाएंगे, it will happen, right? So, believe me, I'm being very open and vocal about it, whether you like it or not. At some places I have gone. One of the gentlemen has written 3-page email to me. He said, you talk about technology, you talk about growth in factors, you're saying tax is not good. India, only 3% people pay tax. So he said, what? You have 97% opportunity for chartered accountants. Well, I don't see it. But without being disrespectful to him, I said, yes, there is. Can you change the game? Can you change the way that you practice? Maybe that is game because there are 97% people who still don't file tax returns. Maybe you need to get an aggregation business for tax. So we need help and support from you in understanding what we're saying. But believe me, I think the mindset is there. And every meeting that we go to, this is what we try and do. Including the last thing on the tender. I have a very strong view on tender. People came and fought that why should tenders should not be allowed. I said, fair enough, if tenders are not allowed. Today you've come to know Bank of Baroda how? How did you come to know about it? How did we come to know about it? Because it was put on the website. Right? Why is he supposed to put it on the website? Because the CAG requires to put it on the website. Because he's put it on the website, a person in Calcutta can know, Guwahati can know, Shimla can know, Jammu and Kashmir can know, and a person in Kanyakumari can know about it. Tomorrow, if we were to close it, what is happening? You've closed the doors of even the visibility of the work. Do you know how many government organizations you have in Delhi? Anybody here? I don't know. Who knows? KPMG NY knows because they have a marketing machine, they have a business development machine, they have offices in all the locations, they know exactly who's where, who's the CFO. So can you imagine if this one thing is taken away, as members, today you're very happy that somebody has killed it and I'm able to maybe code a little better. But tomorrow, suddenly you will start feeling that nothing is coming up. Younger generations, nothing is coming up. So everything has a positive and negative. Our mindset should be to look at the future. Consolidation and aggregation, I think, is the time and the necessity of the day. Thank you. I can take it offline. I'm sorry.
Anilji needs a big round of applause because you have really given us a real good view about all these things. I don't want to continue any further. We are really falling short of time. There are so many good speakers who are online today. Stay tuned with us. We request Sonuji to please come forward and offer a memento as quickly, and then we'll start with Debajit Roy. We got those threads that the technology is going to kill our practice. The next speaker is going to talk about how we can empower our practice using technology. So stay tuned.